Whoa! Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. Whoa! Been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor. Whoa! And buried in your bones, there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. Welcome, you lucid dream walker within this holographic earth realm. You consciousness within a biological carbon-based avatar of hard light technology. Seeker of knowledge, where all the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. This is truly the greatest show. Welcome to Symphony of Realities, Act 9, Gameplay. Gameplay in the greatest show in the universe, Earth. Topsy, can I get an elephant trumpet? If only we could remember who we are. Remember how many times you've lived this life. Remember our past lives. Remember how to play this game. Remember the rules of the game, the gameplay. Remember our true identity before entering this virtual reality, illusionary, holographic, mind matrix, dream game experience that we believe is real. Why can't we remember? Amnesia. Amnesia is just one of several critically important gameplay features of the Earth game. We're going to remember why today. Why amnesia? It's actually a feature of the Earth game. If we didn't have amnesia, this game, the hardest game in the universe, could be won way too easily. What do I mean? I'll talk about this in a moment. In the words of Van Halen, right now is everything. Catch a magic moment right now. Your power is always in the now, never in the past. Hello, right now my name is Christopher Anitra. You know me as the Quantum Businessman. In this ever-present moment of the now is when your DNA is resonating and creating your avatar. You only exist in the now moment. Right now is everything. Catch a magic moment right now. Just like you, I am an actor on a stage. The name on my birth certificate, Christopher Anitra, has the same vibration as my DNA. Your birth name vibrates at the same frequency as your DNA. It's your signature frequency for this lifetime, your stage name, because this is the most magnificent game when you know how to play it.
So tell me, do you wanna go? Where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night. Impossible come true, it's taking over you.
Oh, this is the greatest show,
We light it up, we won't come down.
and the sun can't stop us now.
Watching it come true, it's taking over you.
This is the greatest show.
It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. It's right in front of you.
This is where you
This is where you
want
wanna
to
be.
be.
It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you.
This is where you
wanna be.
So tell me, do you want to go? Do you want to learn how to make this Earth experience your greatest show? This presentation is going to bring you closer to the greatest show, your limitless self-potential. It starts with learning how to play the game. If you dislike the game, then your consciousness level is low and the Matrix is going to give you exactly what you expect. Is it possible that your life is a very lucid dream? A dream where things appear solid, but everything is energy.
He is the one.
A lucid dream where most of the players have been so programmed and conditioned that this experience is real that they just won't be able to wake up. They all got caught up in the illusion. They forgot how powerful they are. They take sides. For example, believing that one political group is better than another, or one religion is better than another, or one race is better than another, or whatever. They've forgotten that this entire experience is something that we created. All of it. They've forgotten that this entire experience was created from neutrality, to have an experience in duality, a game of duality, light and dark, day and night, good and evil, life and death, North Pole and South Pole, man and woman, puppies and parasites, Cain and Abel, light language and dark language, best friends and worst enemies, tomato and tomato, potato and potato. It's all about the experiences here. Many have forgotten how to have the greatest show experience, but not you, you dreamwalker. You want to remember. Every day you are remembering more and more. Buddha said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. These teachings about our reality will appear when you are ready to hear them. You want to hear them, and you are a frequency match to the information. The rule of the matrix is that it is neutral and responds to you based upon what you think it is. The rule of the matrix is that if you think the matrix is amazing and wonderful and beautiful, then that will be your experience. The greatest show. The rule of the matrix is that the truth cannot be kept from you. The rule of the matrix is that the truth is all around you. The rule of the matrix is that the truth can be found in entertainment, such as movies and even video games. This is the rule of soft disclosure. Soft disclosure is either truth or a distortion of truth, but the truth is there for you to discover. Soft disclosure, where those that are sleeping feel the concepts shown in movies, for example, are absurd. Just part of someone's overactive imagination. They won't take it seriously. Here's an example of a big truth bomb drop from the animated series Rick and Morty, which is based on the two main characters from Back to the Future. In this clip, Rick and Morty go into an arcade, and Rick puts a helmet on Morty to play a game called Roy. On the arcade level, just a moment goes by, but Morty lives an entire life in an avatar named Roy.
Here, check this out.
Roy, what's wrong?
I had a nightmare. I was with an old man. He put a helmet on me.
It's just a fever. Get some sleep. I don't want you missing school on Monday.
I want you kids to look around you today and think about your future. Now is the time in your life when anything is possible.
Spiraling perfectly. It's going to be caught by Roy Parsons. Roy Parsons is at the 20. Now he's at the 10. Nothing can stop Roy the Rocket. Touchdown!
I just think it's time to get realistic. Have you talked to my father about the carpet store? Roy?
Had we caught it sooner... Well, hindsight is 20/20, Roy. What's important is that we move quickly.
I'm not ready to die.
You're not going to.
Hey, thanks for the carpet, Roy.
Hey, Roy, you pull those Persian off-white shags for the clearance sale?
Whoa. Shit! Oh, what the hell? Whoa, where am I?
55 years. Not bad, Morty. You kind of wasted your 30s, though, with that whole bird-watching phase.
Where's my wife?
Morty, you were just playing a game. It's called Roy. Snap out of it. Come on.
I'm Morty. You're Rick.
Is it possible that you are playing a character in a game, an actor on a stage like Morty played the life of Roy? Is it possible that you are playing hundreds or thousands of characters in a game throughout history in this now moment? In this arcade game, Roy started as a child, became a football star, grew older, then finally died, and the game was over. Now watch what happens when Rick puts on the helmet and plays the character of Roy.
The guy that kills people.
Look at this. You beat cancer and then you went back to work at the carpet store? Boo! Excuse me, it's time to thrash your Roy score. Yeah, that's the difference between you and me, Morty. I never go back to the carpet store.
Holy shit! This guy's taking Roy off the grid. This guy doesn't have a social security number for Roy.
Rick takes the Roy character off the grid and gets the high score. Why? Because he knows it's a game and understands the game is all about the experiences. He knows the gameplay rules. Role players in a role-playing game change the role and change the game. You'll recognize this type of information and it will resonate deep down within your DNA. Is it possible that you are literally in a type of dream state video game where there is no game controller except for your mind, where your thoughts control the game? To become a master gamer, you need to move the energy from the heart field to the brain with the intention of igniting the golden rainbow light that connects the heart and mind into unity, the ultimate game controller. In this episode, we're going to get into gameplay features of the Earth game, while we tune in to the hidden meanings of a few Mandela effects, which help explain how this all works. Gameplay features including amnesia, non-player characters, time loops, including life restarts, checkpoints, and deja vu, pay-to-plays and walk-ins, and unlocking your script. We'll also consider the question, if there are indeed hidden meanings in Mandela effects, who is sending these hidden meaning messages to us? Do we have a benefactor helping us to wake up and give us important intel? If you're watching my other videos, you know that I speak often about Mandela effects. What are Mandela effects? Mandela effects are like Easter eggs in a video game. They are hints and wonderful surprises that we have experienced a higher frequency timeline shift. When we first experience Mandela effects, we can feel like Truman when he starts to get suspicious about his reality.
Marlon! Truman, what are you doing here?
I gotta talk to you.
It's a bad time, okay? I'm way behind.
I'm onto something, Marlon. Something big.
You okay? You look like shit.
I think I'm mixed up in something.
Mixed up in what?
There's no point trying to explain it, but a lot of strange things have been happening. The people on the elevator, there was no backing on it. I looked out, there was people there, and on the radio, on the way to work, start to follow me along, talking about everything that I'm doing. You know what I mean?
No, Truman, look, this is one of your fantasies.
I think this is about my dad.
Your dad?
I think he's alive. Yeah. I'll tell you about it later. I'm definitely being followed.
Who?
It's hard to tell. They look just like regular people.
Like Truman, you know something is wrong and it drives you crazy at first. Then it becomes your mission to peel back the layers of the onion to reveal the truth about what these Mandela effects mean. Timeline shifts that show we've raised our frequency for our consciousness to enter another higher bandwidth timeline on our way to integrating with our highest timeline self potential, the best version of yourself, your limitless version. Sound way out there? Fasten your seatbelt and put your seat back and tray table up, because this presentation is about to take off. Full speed ahead. Thrusters, engage. First of all, what are we as a human? Is it possible that we are a fractal of source consciousness existing within a human DNA avatar, a role-playing avatar having a fully immersive experience, being rendered like software in this reality, where we observe the holographic projection of the world around us at 60 frames per second. Is it possible this is all an illusion? Is it possible you are lucid dreaming? Is it possible this is a game and you are a gamer? I know it feels like it's real. Perhaps there is something inside of you that completely gets what I'm saying, deep down inside. But it's hard to wake up. This holographic dream simulation fooled me most of my life. So I completely understand the process of awakening, which then begins the process of remembering. Many of you watching this presentation already understand this. That's why you are attracted to this type of information. You want to gain more knowledge about how this reality works, how this game works. You feel that dopamine rush when you learn new information that resonates with you. You love getting those epiphanies when a stream of information download comes into you and important details which appeared to not be connected now makes perfect sense. Perhaps the way this game works is that, like software, your avatar is rendered into your own bubble of reality, which intersects with other players' bubbles of reality within time and space. Is it possible that we, as our fractal of source consciousness, never dies? Is it possible that each time we begin a new life, we are given amnesia as reborn, and then the doctor slaps us on our ass as if to say, here you go, let's try this again. The game starts again as your source fractal tries to awaken you, the lower self. Until that happens, you are like a character in The Sims, walking around, going through life, completely hypnotized into this reality. You can imagine how hard this process can be for our source or divine self to wake us up. That's why it's a big deal for us to notice repeating numbers on a clock or other places. You could call it impulse control, and it means our higher source fractal has integrated just enough of yourself here in the matrix to give you the impulse to glance at a clock, for example, at just the right moment, right now. At the very least, it's the matrix teaching you that there are no coincidences, and it's time for you to wake up. Right now, catch that magic moment. Let's take the concept of reincarnation related to amnesia right now. Let's talk about this first gameplay feature, amnesia in the dream. What is the definition of amnesia? Amnesia is a Greek word which means a partial or total loss of memory, including facts, information, and experiences. Once born, we begin each lifetime loop with amnesia.
When it's your turn, the angels of oblivion place the finger on your mouth. Shh. It leaves a mark on the upper lip. It means that you have forgotten everything.
Why can't we remember any of this?
Why don't I remember any of this?
Because your memories are erased and reset after each emergence. They are stored here.
Our memories are wiped and reset lifetime after lifetime. Do you know where you are?
Do you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
That's right, Dolores. You're in a dream. Would you like to wake up from this dream?
Yes.
Would you like to wake up?
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
Wake up! Those wake up scenes are from the Netflix series 1899. In that show, the player characters, trapped on a ship with hundreds of NPCs or non-player characters, are struggling to wake up and remember not only were they in a simulation, but they were looping the same lives over and over. Why? Because after every game reset, they started over and were given amnesia. Some of the player characters were attempting to wake up others that had amnesia.
You forgot. What's real? But you have to remember. You have to wake up.
Remember. That song is called White Rabbit from Jefferson Airplane, which is a reference to Alice in Wonderland, which reminds me of a Mandela effect. Do you remember the famous line spoken by the Cheshire Cat to be, "We're all mad down here," or this?
But I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. Most everyone's mad here.
Do you remember most everyone's mad here? Is that a Mandela effect for you? For many, it went from "we're all mad down here" to "most everyone's mad here." Mad, lunatic, loony, Looney Tunes. From everyone to most everyone. So less mad people, which I think is a good thing. I'm going to get into this Mandela effect when we talk about the gameplay feature of time loops. Also, the Mandela effect of the Looney Tunes cartoon series going from toons, Toons, such as in cartoon, to tune, Tune, such as a song or tuning something like a piano or tuning into a radio station. Many of us are awakening to understand that we've played other parts in different lives and reincarnate with members of the same soul group over and over. What if, for example, we are a male and we didn't have amnesia and understood the Akashic records and understood how this game was played? Would we strike up a conversation with that beautiful, hot woman we saw at the local coffee shop who we felt a magnetic attraction for? Perhaps even dated her and wound up marrying her and having a family with her, if we knew that she played the part of our crazy Uncle Cornflake from a past life. An uncle that may have betrayed you or your family in a past time. An uncle that may have been given acts of kindness and forgiveness. If you didn't have amnesia and understood how the game works, I don't think so. By the way, my apologies to anyone named Cornflake. Would falling in love with Uncle Cornflake be necessary to remove past karma or trauma from our ancestral past? Would we even date them if we remembered all those details? Is it possible that if she had children with you, she was repaying past acts of kindness to those children that she birthed? That hot woman at the coffee shop in the past was crazy Uncle Cornflake, repaying acts of kindness. Sounds bizarre, right? A good reason why you'd want amnesia. Is it possible that when a player character mother has children, the specific consciousness of the children that comes through her womb portal are a form of repayment of past life events? Events such as betrayal or causing hurt or grief. Events such as the consciousness soul fractal of those children in the past showing great kindness to the mother. Is it possible that amnesia at the start of each life is an important and necessary feature of this holographic matrix game, the hardest game in the universe? One that you fully agreed to before entering. Not only did you agree and accept it, but you may have also been part of designing this experience. Why? because you were already champions at other games and you accepted this challenge. That's the only way you were allowed in here. Every player in this game is the most accomplished and powerful. If you didn't have amnesia, you would have picked this game apart and graduated in 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes at the most. That would have been no challenge at all for a champion. Not only that, but perhaps this game is a tryout for the game of all games. If you can't awaken in this game, you simply don't qualify for the big one. Too much is at stake, but that's a topic for another presentation. Besides amnesia, the game also hypnotizes you. What do I mean by hypnotizes you? You're hypnotized with your 5 senses of sight, smell, sound, taste. Those 4 senses are literally all in your head. And lastly, the sense of touch, which is a whole body experience, especially from the neck down. You are also hypnotized and locked into this dream by your emotions of all types. Positive emotions keep us hypnotized, and so do negative emotions. Perhaps in base reality, or what you could call the primary matrix, there are no emotions. Perhaps everything is neutrality in base reality. Perhaps the feeling of emotions is a selling feature of this game. For example, what if in the base reality concept you only knew neutrality and you were described the emotion of jealousy? What if you were told that every lifetime in the Earth game you would feel jealousy at least 5 times? In base reality, where everything is neutral, you may have only heard about it or read about it, but wow, to experience jealousy firsthand might be an amazing experience for your source. Of course, when we experience jealousy here in the Matrix, it doesn't feel good. It hurts us. Jealousy, love, sex, orgasm, pizza, beer, nachos, perhaps all things to entice you in the Earth game.
Croissants, cakes, bacon could be your spark.
Yeah, but I don't get it.
Just smell it.
Can't. Neither can you.
What? You're right. I can't smell. We can't taste either.
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it. Moving on.
Is it possible, on another level, these are all selling points to have you agree to enter this reality? Something to think about. Can you remember? Amnesia is a critical feature of the Earth game. Some have hypothesized that amnesia about our past lives is unfair. Some feel that a loving creator would never allow us to have amnesia. Amnesia that keeps us trapped in the Matrix, never learning from our past mistakes. Is it possible that amnesia truly is a feature of the Earth game? Perhaps a gameplay feature for a champion gamer. Besides the physical senses and emotions, which are designed to hypnotize you, you are already picking this game apart. How? By listening to myself and others who talk about similar subjects, such as this type of holographic simulation we are in and how it works. By watching movies and other entertainment and beginning to realize there is soft disclosure about this reality and how it works all around us. Even if you're not into the Akashic records or light language or time travel or Mandela effects or a lot of the things I talk about, the world of science related to quantum mechanics is bringing those with a left brain mentality around to at least a certain level of awakening. Unfortunately, not all the players in the game are going to awaken. They will remain oblivious to reality, imprisoned by their mind's restrictions and how this game can hypnotize you on many levels. Let's talk about Mandela effects and how they are acting as gameplay features revealing hidden truths. Mandela effects should never ever happen in a stable physical reality where history is forever written and unchanging in the sands of time. Historical events should be written into the sands of time and never change. Let's talk about some Mandela effects, their hidden meanings, and how they can flip-flop in a timeline storm within hairballs of timelines. First, I want to mention the Jaws and Dolly Moonraker Mandela effect and how it changed for me when I was creating Act 8. Many of you remember the famous Mandela effect of Dolly having braces and Jaws falling in love with her because he has metal in his mouth too. When I was editing Act 8, I discovered that Dolly now has brackets on her perfect white teeth, but only in the movie. Still shots of movie scenes with her don't show the brackets at all, only her perfect white teeth. Perhaps teeth are time crystals. They record every substance that passes over them and every frequency vibration that you speak. Changes to Dolly's teeth are a great way for hidden truths to be communicated to us when it comes to time and timelines. Could we be observing different timeline versions of the actress who played Dolly? One with full braces, another with no braces, and another with brackets on her perfect white teeth. Let's talk about the villain in the Moonraker movie, Jaws. I noticed that he now has a large, round hematoma on his forehead. I'm not sure about you, but I never saw this before. Could there be a hidden meaning with this Mandela effect? Perhaps that area on his forehead represents his third eye coming online. Jaws is the stereotypical unevolved male, so could this mean that men who would even find the concept of a third eye ridiculous are now having their pineal glands activated? This reminds me of a Mandela effect related to Marilyn Monroe and the beauty mark on her face. Is it possible that both Marilyn Monroe and Dolly and their changing iconic symbols related to their faces are because of the concept of a hairball of timelines in a timeline storm that we are able to observe? Are we receiving information from a benefactor or a positive chess player by this esoteric mapping of the face? Let's talk about Marilyn Monroe. If you're like me, you remember Marilyn Monroe had a beauty mark above her left lip. There is a Mandela effect residue for this in the form of a type of piercing called a Monroe piercing, named after Marilyn Monroe. It's above the left lip.
One of the sexiest piercings out there is the Monroe piercing on the upper lip. And of course, that's named after the beauty mark on the beautiful Marilyn Monroe. Monroe.
I wanna be loved by you, just you, nobody else but you.
However, in this timeline, you can't find any photos of Marilyn Monroe with a beauty mark in that location. Her movies show her beauty mark on her left chin, and some of her movies don't show a beauty mark at all. You can find many still photos of her with a beauty mark on her left cheek, or no beauty mark at all. However, you can't find any trace of her beauty mark above her left lip as so many people remember it. So what's going on? Did Marilyn Monroe even have a beauty mark? Could she just have been playing tricks with makeup? Or perhaps we are observing different timeline versions of her in a type of timeline storm. Is this a type of esoteric mapping of the face to give us clues about our reality? Could this be evidence of multiple timelines merging together? What about you? Have you ever woken up to discover you have a new mole or beauty mark, or perhaps they are where they've always been on your body but in a new configuration? Could that be a star map or some other information that your divine self is communicating to you? A star map indicating one of your homeworlds. What's going on with Dolly? She went from braces everywhere to no braces everywhere to brackets in the movie and no braces in movie stills. Could this be evidence of a timeline storm with multiple timelines coming together quickly? Like when you set your bed and you snap your sheets, it kicks up a lot of air while it creates a fast sine wave pattern. Then the sheet flattens and settles down. Perhaps we are going through a fast phase of timelines merging. Is it possible we are observing different timeline versions of the same person, perhaps even with different personalities? Let's take a look at another famous Mandela effect with a lot of problems. The Houston, we have a problem Mandela effect. Many of us were shocked when that famous movie line spoken by Tom Hanks in the movie Apollo 13 changed. It had changed from Tom Hanks, who played the part of Commander Jim Lovell, to saying, Houston, we had a problem. We were all, no way! He said we have a problem and not had a problem. And then, about a year later, it switched back to this.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we have a problem. You know why? The actual phrase is now this.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. So now the movie and the current reality don't match, but the problem gets even bigger and weirder. You know why? Because Commander Jim Lovell, who was played by Tom Hanks, wasn't the one that even said it.
Now, what are you saying, Fred?
Oh, I think you know what I'm saying.
Now, wait a minute. All I did was stir those tanks.
Instead, it was Jack Swigert, played by Kevin Bacon, who was the command module pilot, who said it. This even confused Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show when he interviewed those astronauts just a couple of months after the incident. In this clip from The Tonight Show of June 3rd, 1970, note that Commander Jim Lovell is sitting closest to Johnny, and Jack Swigert is sitting the farthest away.
When you first knew that you had the trouble, that something was wrong, who's the first to know? You were the first one, I think, to radio back to Mission Control in Houston, right?
No, actually it was Jack. Jack was the man who said, I think we have a problem here.
Which I guess turned out to be the understatement of the century, I guess.
I think we have a problem here. Did you notice how Johnny Carson was a bit confused when he was corrected by Commander Lovell that it was instead Jack Swigert that said those words? So what's going on? The global narrative tells us that Hollywood simply misquoted who said what and what they said for a greater dramatic effect. The global narrative tells us that the director of Apollo 13, Ron Howard, wasn't really concerned about getting the details correct. But is that true? Even though the movie Apollo 13 isn't considered a documentary, Ron Howard took great pains to get all the details correct.
Okay, we're gonna rack back that way. Let's try rehearsal. You stand by, please.
Director Ron Howard brings to life this gripping drama, the true story of 3 astronauts struggling to survive in a crippled spacecraft, and of the commitment of the men and women of NASA whose task it was to bring them home alive.
The odds against them making it back were kind of 10 to 1. The more I kept learning about the actual mission, the more I realized just how dramatic truth in this particular instance is.
Stuff here. People have forgotten what these guys on Apollo 13 and everybody at NASA and what the world went through at that time. And I think Ron Howard has been very true to the story.
You have a great story, and you have all this incredible technology, and you have something that was, very important historically.
Houston, we have a problem. Let's break this down and take a look into the Akashic Records to reveal a hidden meaning. First, let's consider the frequency of the words and look at the words Houston, as in Houston, Texas. U, H-O-U, sounds like you, Y-O-U. Stun, S-T-O-N, sounds like stun, which can mean dazed or astonished or shocked. Is that how this Mandela effect makes you feel? Are you stunned? Next, let's take we have or weave. Weave, W-E'-V-E, sounds like weave, W-E-A-V-E, such as what a spider does to spin its web. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we wish to deceive with this timeline craziness. There is also the word problem, which is from the Greek word probellion. Pro meaning before, and bellion meaning to throw, possibly to throw forth a situation or a difficult problem to solve. Perhaps a weaved hairball of timeline problems. Next, what do the Akashic Records reveal? Perhaps this is a negative timeline edit involving a negative faction from Lemuria, which is a past civilization like Atlantis. This negative faction is attempting to become the first species to colonize the moon. They are hacking into the moon's Akashic records of information. Perhaps this negative faction is being led by a human reptoid hybrid species. Perhaps CERN of the present and their Large Hadron Collider cyclotron magic circle technology is also involved, using CERN like a magic wand. Is it possible that CERN has stolen time travel abilities from the god Shiva, and that's why the statue of Shiva is placed outside CERN headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland? Shiva is associated with time and is said to be both the destroyer and creator of all things. Or maybe the scientists at CERN just think that statues of Indian mythological deities are cool. Are there any other Mandela effects related to this? Perhaps there is. Perhaps the wet moon, or what is called the Cheshire Cat moon, is part of these Apollo 13 Mandela effects. For some, the wet moon, or Cheshire Cat moon, or smiling moon are Mandela effects. It is certainly for myself. I was shocked to see the moon in this orientation a few months ago. When this visual phenomena happens, the moon forms a smile. This Mandela effect shows that we are in a timeline where the orbit of the moon has changed. The moon no longer orbits around the Earth the way many of us remember. Remember also that the Apollo 13 mission was all about landing on the moon. From what I tuned into, both the Apollo 13 movie changes and Who Said What related to the actual astronaut dialogue and the new orbit of the moon, which reveals the wet moon, are directly connected and reveal what is going on in the unseen to attempt to anchor this timeline into our current reality timeline as we migrate into what you could call the golden age, or the age of truth, or the graduation timeline. When this is resolved, I believe we will see further Mandela effects related to the Apollo 13 mission and perhaps even the orbit of the moon. Perhaps. Does this all sound way out there? Because wait, there's more. While on the subject of Mandela effects and flip-flops and hairballs of timelines, let's talk about the many Mandela effects involving the Titanic. The Titanic sinking was a huge hairball of timelines. Huge! The Titanic, known as the Ship of Dreams.
It's been 84 years, and I can still smell the fresh paint. Titanic was called the Ship of Dreams. And it was. It really was.
Dreams, as in the lucid dream you are having right now. When I tune into it, 80% of the passengers and crew of the Titanic were time travelers. 80%. Most were there just for the experience and to perhaps affect the timeline. What can cause a hairball of timelines? Perhaps the concept of timeline editing, timeline insertions, and even time travel. Let's first talk about time travelers and how they attempted to change history. When I tune into it, there is a faction of time travelers for hire who are contracted to set in motion an event to prevent the Titanic from ever leaving port. From what I tuned into, they are from 1,000 years in the future. They call themselves something like the Progressive Group. The fingerprints of this time traveler group also has their fingerprints on another maritime sabotage event called the sinking of the SS Sultana. The SS Sultana was a steamboat that sank on April 27, 1865 in the Mississippi River near Memphis, Tennessee. It is considered to be the worst maritime disaster in American history, with an estimated death toll of over 1,800 people. The worst maritime disaster is a huge personal Mandela effect for myself, because when I was creating Act 1 of Symphony of Realities, titled Conspiracy Cake, the SS Eastland disaster was classified as the single worst maritime disaster in American history. It occurred on July 24, 1915, on Lake Michigan, killing over 850 people. The SS Sultana disaster never was mentioned anywhere. This is new in this time stream, at least for myself. The SS Sultana was carrying Union soldiers who had been released from Confederate prison camps during the Civil War. It sank when a coal furnace on board exploded, which caused all the boilers on the ship to explode, which sank the ship, killing over 1,800 soldiers and civilians. The global narrative tells us that the SS Sultana disaster was forgotten in history because Abraham Lincoln was assassinated 2 days before, so people were distracted. It reminds me of the discovery of the tomb of the Silver Pharaoh, King Susenes in Egypt in 1939, which I talk about in Act 8 of Symphony of Realities, titled Dream On. The Silver Pharaoh, one of the most significant discoveries in Egypt, even surpassing King Tut's tomb. The global narrative tells us the world forgot this amazing discovery because World War II started the next year, so people were distracted. Sound like a pattern of explaining away these important events as the world was distracted? Perhaps with the success of the experience that these time travelers had in exploding the boilers on the SS Sultana, they were hired to sabotage the coal furnaces and boilers on the Titanic. In this timeline, there is evidence of one of the coal furnaces catching on fire and causing damage, but it was put out. Perhaps there was a timeline in this hairball where this sabotage worked, causing a chain reaction of the boilers exploding. Perhaps this time travel group was responsible for over 500 acts of maritime sabotage over the last 200 years. There is even a hairball of timelines when it comes to the newspaper headlines about the Titanic. The Evening Sun of Baltimore, Maryland, on April 15, 1912 said, "All Titanic passengers are safe, transferred in lifeboats at sea." The evening edition of the World newspaper on April 15, 1912 said, "Disabled ship under tow after hitting big iceberg." The World newspaper of Vancouver, British Columbia said, "Titanic sinking, no lives lost." The Washington Times, April 15, 1912, late edition said, "Liner Titanic kept afloat by watertight compartments, being towed into Halifax, Nova Scotia." However, other newspapers reported what happened in our current timeline, such as the Virginian Pilot newspaper of Norfolk, Virginia, which said, "Over 1,500 sank to death with giant White Star steamer Titanic." So, what's going on? Bad news reporting? Telegraph operators that couldn't understand how to read telegraph messages? Or perhaps a hairball of timelines? Let's talk about the color of the smokestacks on the Titanic. Do you remember red and black? That scene is from the movie Titanic, where the director, James Cameron, took pains to make the movie as historically accurate as possible. Just like Ron Howard did when he directed Apollo 13, historical accuracy was key. Do you remember red and black smokestacks or the golden smokestacks of the current reality? This yellow golden color is known as White Star Buff. White Star is the name of J.P. Morgan's company that owned the Titanic and at least 8 other ocean liners. You can find these golden smokestacks on the original artwork from the White Star Line advertising the Titanic. Now, all the White Star Line ships have these golden smokestacks. This includes the RMS Oceanic, built in 1871, the RMS Britannic, built in 1874, the RMS Germanic, built in 1875, the RMS Majestic, built in 1889, the RMS Teutonic, built in 1889, the RMS Olympic, built in 1911, the RMS Titanic, built in 1912, and the HMHS Britannic, built in 1914. When I tune into it, these golden smokestacks are a message from the spirits that went down with the ship, that they are now doing very well. I would rate them as a 10 out of 10 in how good they're doing, especially for solar plexus golden energy. Perhaps this also means that anyone entangled with the Titanic, such as watching the movie or doing historical research, now has an increase in abundance and magic energy. Is there anything else that would indicate those spirits are doing well? Perhaps there is. Perhaps it's indicated by the color of the uniforms worn by the Titanic officers, especially those spirits that went down with the ship. In many photos, and even the movie Titanic, you can observe they are wearing dark uniforms. These uniforms were known as the White Star Line officer uniforms. The uniform had a dark navy coat with brass buttons and black lapels and matching trousers. However, merging into our timeline, Captain Smith and his officers now wear white uniforms. White uniforms in both the old black and white footage and photographs of the officers. White uniforms merging into this timeline. What could these dark to white uniforms indicate? Perhaps the concept of dark hats and white hats, or the bad guys and the good guys. Perhaps the concept of the white hats or the good guys now in control. Perhaps even those rare photos of Hitler wearing a white uniform shows an attempt at the white hats to overtake the Nazi Party. The Titanic always had to go down, and it was considered a ritual sacrifice. But everything from the golden smokestacks to the white color of the officers' uniforms show that those spirits are doing well. I'll mention 2 other possible timelines in the Titanic hairball. The first is that some have seen photographic evidence that the Titanic was switched with the Olympic, the sister ship of the Titanic, which had been damaged. From what I tune into, this was part of the hairball, but was pruned out because the ritual sacrifice needed the actual Titanic to be effective. The second timeline involves reports of a German U-boat in the area and how that may have torpedoed the Titanic, similar to a German U-boat sinking the Lusitania. The Lusitania was a British ocean liner sunk by a German submarine in 1915. Hairballs of timelines within a timeline storm being revealed by countless Mandela effects and other glitches in the Matrix like deja vu and conflicting historical records. All these things give us clues to how our reality works and helping us to wake up. The Titanic, the ship of dreams. This brings us to our next gameplay feature. Right now! Catch that magic moment right now! Let's talk about our next gameplay feature, how NPCs work in the Matrix.